And we're live. Vinny, thank you so much for coming on. You've got John A-Light to my right and Gene Borello to my far right. Thank you for coming on the Johnny and Gene show today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me.
So I've heard a couple of stories about you, but I feel like it wouldn't do you justice. Will you, for the people that aren't familiar with you, will you give just a small background and bio on yourself and your role, in that former life?
Sure. Well, I was a Bonanno associate under Ronnie G. From like 1998 till 2006. Basically, I did everything from like the stock market end of where he was making money to loan sharking, gambling, things of that nature, and basically I was around him just about every day of the week. I was probably one of his closest friends at that time, if you could call it a friend. I don't call it a friend because you learn after all the years and the mistakes that you're not a friend. But growing up, I grew up in Howard Beach, Lindenwood. There was Lindenwood, there was Rockwood Park. They would call us the Linden Hoods, and obviously the Rockwood Park kids. And John knows we grew up around a lot of the same people because we're about the same age. He's a little, maybe he's a year older than me, but he's better looking. But anyways, growing up in our neighborhood, even at young ages, like I'm talking 15, 16 years old, you're constantly around organized crime. No matter what you do, wherever you turn, your friend's father's involved with it, your other friend's father's involved with it. So there's really like not many paths that you can take, with your life than other than get involved with it at a young age. And, as a kid, as a teenager growing up, I hung around a group of guys in Lindenwood, John and Greg Massa, good friends of mine back then. Another guy by the name of Jimmy Santangelo, Lee Gold, Jules Rosen. These are all the guys that I grew up with. And, we were friendly with the Rockwood Park guys, John Jr. and his crew. At times we were. You could call it friendly. I wouldn't. But, John Jr., his crew, Frankie Radici, Stephen Kaplan, all of those guys. So, coming up through the years, being around John and Greg Massa, their father was involved with loan sharking. And also they had a big, bookmaking business where they ran it for their father at the time. And their father was one of the biggest guys on the East Coast at one time.
He was around the Genovese family, Sonny. So
Sonny Massa, yeah, he was very big. And like I said, as we were growing up, you were around a lot of more reputable guys in the area, like the Andrew Curros, the Joey Cavalcantis, the Stephen and Peter Sakaras. You would see these guys hanging out a block away from my house at a cab stand, and that's what was around us. So everybody gets caught up in the life at a young age.
And
go ahead.
Sorry, did you want to get in that life when you were younger, or was it more like you just were kind of forced into it?
I wasn't forced into it. I was stupid. Now that I think back about it, I played Pop Warner football at a young age. I started at 9 years old. I was in the Lynn Vets. I played up until I was in my teens. Then I played high school ball. I actually, I was getting recruited by a lot of colleges at the time, but my mindset was elsewhere. It was the street. Okay. My senior year in high school, I actually made an article in Sports Illustrated, and in the back, it's called Faces in the Crowd. Because one of the games that I had, I ended up, it was against Franklin K. Lane. I threw 5 touchdown passes in that game. So they showcased me in that article. And so I had some decent offers to some reputable colleges, Lafayette in Pennsylvania, also Lehigh, Holy Cross, and a few others. What did I do? I basically let my life go to shit after that, and I got involved with, hanging out, being a street kid, at a young age. And I really blew it on that because I was pretty good in football. I actually played 3 years of semi-pro football with the Brooklyn Mariners. I actually stopped playing when I was 23 years old, because I loved the sport. I just loved fucking hitting people. Excuse my language. That's the way I played. I mean, I played reckless. And, I wasn't the biggest guy on the field. I was 185 pounds playing against guys that were probably, 230, 240, 250. So I took my fair share of licks on the field, but I held my own very well.
So when you, I mean, you're about the same age as John. What was, as someone who was back in that time, what was John's reputation like on the street for people who weren't around during that time?
Well, John was feared even back then as a teenager. A lot of the stories you hear, about Junior and his crew, Junior Gotti and his crew, John was responsible for most of it. I know firsthand because I was there on a lot of occasions. Because we used to hang out at all the same bars, whether it be the White Horse on Jamaica Avenue, the clubs out in Long Island, Metro 700, 231, you name it. We always used to end up meeting in the same spot, even though we were like two different sections, Lindenwood and Rockwood Park. We would always hang out, drink together, and shit like that.
And for you, John, what was what was he like? What was Vinny like back in the day? And
Quiet.
Yeah, Vinny was. One thing I got to say about Vinny, you really weren't stupid because all you guys that stayed with you guys in Lindenwood with Johnny Massa, who at the beginning I didn't care either way for Johnny. Later on, I liked him a lot. As young kids, I didn't care, because you're jealous of each other, whatever, nonsense stuff. But as we got older, you guys were very athletic, so it was easy for you to fall in with that whole crew. And that crew of guys weren't shooters and killers and everything.
No.
You guys were gamblers, nice guys. And then later on over the years, I really liked Johnny Massa. And I respected him. I thought he was a smart businessman, earner. He raised his son well. So I think that you guys were so athletic, and it was easy to fall in and hang out. I think on our side, we were going in a different direction with the, especially me, I guess, with the shooting and the killing. But I liked you guys. Actually, I liked you guys a lot more than the guys I stayed with. Put it that way. I really did. Yeah. I thought you guys were, because you were more my type of guy, because you guys were athletic.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing about John and Greg. We bring up that subject. They are probably two of the toughest guys, and the gentlemen now, that I ever hung around with when I was younger. I mean, John and Greg Massa would never back down to a fight from no one, no matter what it was. I mean, I seen guys come after John with guns. He didn't back down. Greg, the same thing. They're two of the toughest guys I ever been around. Jimmy Santangelo was another kid. He wouldn't back down from a fight for anybody.
Well, you guys were all strong. Every one of you was strong, and you guys fought with your hands. I got to say. There's the difference also, and Lee Gold was a tough kid, strong kid.
Oh, yeah.
All you guys were strong. And when we talk about, it was always that neighborhood rivalry back and forth. We'd gamble with each other and all that. But as we got older, and you guys got older, everybody's going separate ways. I stayed tight with Johnny. And, me and Johnny, we go out all the time. We go eat, we go drink or whatever. And, I always had, especially as we got older, I respect him because he was such a smart guy with money. And he knew how to.
He was.
And
he was as sharp as they can be.
Yeah, he was. And then he really, I got to tell you, and I talk a bit because the show is about kids. And I got to respect him because he really did a good job with his son. His son's a gentleman. He's a nice kid. He's a funny kid. And he's got a good personality. A lot of John's personality came into his son. So, when we're talking about this show, we're talking about kids and breaking the habit of what we did. And he did a pretty good job with that with his son. And you guys all, really.
Well, the bottom line is this, like I said, even though we were into sports at a young age and we always played Rockwood Park and football. I mean, we used to beat the shit out of them. They were horrible. I mean, whether it be John Jr., Stephen Kaplan, Frankie Radici, I mean, we used to put these guys on their fucking ass. I mean, there's this one kid, Nicky Calvanero. I don't know if anybody knows him.
I remember Nicky.
He was playing quarterback for them one day. We were playing at John Adams Field. This kid must have got sacked about 12 times in the first half. I think it was like 66-0 before we actually called the game.
Yeah.
That's how bad they were.
But as a younger guy, then you guys, I mean, listen, we were all street guys, but you guys, you turned the corner later on in life and you got involved in more serious mob stuff.
Correct.
And that's where the change of your life was. I don't think your problem was back with those guys. I mean, those guys were put in a spot. You read the 302s, I think, Gotti put them all at a spot and location, try to blame them, John and Greg, for a murder of a kid, which they never did. I did a lot of talking, sticking up for these guys that they never did that.
I know the whole story about that situation, and You know, I know the truth, and I know exactly what happened because I was with people right after they left that incident. So, you know, they can say what they want on that end, but I know exactly what happened with that whole night.
Well, and so you know John and Greg were innocent. We all know that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
John and Greg were fighting, yeah, but John and Greg did not kill the kid.
yeah, I know. And
They did not.
and I
Yeah.
think the mistake later on in your life was going in the direction with the Bonanno guys. It's
Now, now,
Yeah, I
Vinny.
mean, you know, around 1998 is when I got basically hooked up with Ronnie. You know, we knew some. He knew some guys that had some boiler room operations. You know, pump and dump operations. I was still working for my brother's company at the time, and you know, things started to sour with that group of people that I was working with, because you know the people I was around at the time. You know, they didn't want us, you know, mingling around with with made guys and what have you. So I ended up leaving them in 1999, and I started working for a friend of mine at the time, my friend Craig and my friend Rob. Two gentlemen, got nothing bad to say about either one of them. And that's when Ronnie started earning off of us. You know, most people don't understand the stock market, like what we ran and what we did. We did operations that were like, you know, you buy a stock. It's called a house stock. We own the stock. Okay, we own it at pennies. We drive it up with our buyers. People are buying our clients are buying the stock, so we're driving up the price. So we get it up to $6, $7 a share, and we start dumping it off. We own it at a penny, so we're making a fortune off of these deals. So, you know, that's what I started getting involved with in 1999 through 2004. And I made a shitload of money doing that.
Now,
And,
Vinny,
you
wait,
know,
Vinny, can I ask you one thing? Because me and you have a common enemy, should I say? Basically, a lot of people don't know that you made Ronnie all his millions. I had told people that they didn't know that. Now, you pretty much put him on the map because he was broke before that. So you pretty
Yeah.
much made him all his money. Now, when you were making him all this money and he started loan sharking it out, which a lot of people were just blowing their money, he was just putting it all on the street. That's the only thing I can say he did smart. Because I
Yeah,
know.
no, he was smart with that. He was very smart with that. You know, yeah, Ronnie was. I'll be honest with you. You know, '99, he was on the heels of his ass.
Right.
His sister was living in his basement. You know, paying part of his mortgage on his house on 80th Street. You know, once he started earning with us, you know, he basically, you know, she had to move. He renovated everything downstairs with, you know, the money he was making through us. You know, 20, maybe 40,000 a month to start off with on a small scale. You know, that's on top of whatever else he was making from, you know, my friend Craig's side, because they were hitting him off as well. So you figure about 50,000 a month on average that he was making through those deals.
Right. And it went higher than that. I know he believed he told me.
Well,
he was
a few years later, he started making a lot more money.
Right.
You know, around 2002, 2003, we opened up our own company out in Long Island. So it was just me, him, and my brother involved in owning the company. He was never there. You know, I used to run it pretty much. And we had a group of good brokers there. But, you know, in the course of 6 months, I know I handed him almost $500,000 in cash. And over the course of a year, I handed him probably about $1.2 million in cash.
And he loaned
So
it
what
all
does he
out.
do at that point in time?
He loaned it all out. Yeah.
Takes that money, puts it on the street, starts earning like a maniac. Basically, that was the seed to his huge loan sharking business.
3 million. 3 million in the street.
Yeah.
I collected it all. 3 million in the street. Vinny, I wanted to get into something with you because obviously we worked for the same guy and we both did everything for him. You made him rich. I did all his dirty work. You know, we could go on for days what we did. But I want you to explain. It's not like we're attacking anyone. We're just basically explaining how they are and how people are in that life. How you did everything for him and he turned on you just like you meant nothing to
Yeah,
him.
and, you know, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come on and do the show. Because, you know, all of his people around him, whether it be his sister, his brothers, you know, whoever's related to him, they're going to tell their side of the story, which 99.9% is bullshit.
Right.
Okay? My side of the story, it's not perfect, and I'll tell you that point blank. But, you know, it's always good to hear two sides of the story because, you know, they're always going to defend him. And, you know, a lot of things they don't even know about went on between me and him. You know, it infuriates me because the bottom line is this: I know I was responsible for a lot of it. and it just it was one of the main reasons that made my decision so easy to cooperate when I did. Because John always says it perfectly, and I heard him say it a few times. You're as good as your last dollar, and you ain't earning these people money anymore. They'll throw you to the fucking curb quicker than they would a cat or a dog. Plain and simple.
Now,
And it's a shame.
Now, for you in your life post this life, I mean, we've gone into a lot with these two over here about reintegrating to society and finding normalcy in some ways and rekindling relationships with family and lost friends. How has that experience been like post since your time in that life and just kind of making sure that things are normal with the people around you?
Yeah. I mean, it was rough initially. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, the biggest thing was my kids being taken away from their friends. I didn't go into witness protection or anything like that. I did move, yeah. My kids were the hardest thing. My oldest daughter now, she was the toughest to deal with. That's what broke my heart, taken away from the kids that she grew up her whole life. But as time went on, she acclimated and she made a lot of new friends, and friends that are not around the mafia right now. People that are not around the life, and I'm actually so happy that she's around these type of people. I mean, the people she hangs out with right now are complete opposites of what she was used to hanging out with on family trips up to dude ranches, going to the Atlantis and the Bahamas and things like that. She was always around mob guys. So it's been tough. Along the way, I lost my oldest daughter back in 2015. She suffered from a lot of medical issues from the time she was born, and that was probably the most toughest time in my life. No matter what, I mean, no parent should have to bury their child. It should be the opposite way around. She suffered for 4 months prior to her passing away in November of 15. And I had to actually pull the life support system the day where the doctors told me there's no hope for her, and it was the hardest decision I ever made in my life. And it took me, well, to this day I still am not over it, and I'll never be over it. But that was the hardest thing I had to deal with. And then on top of that, 7 months later, I lose my mother to a massive heart attack. So that 7 month period of time between November of 2015 and June of 16, I lose two immediate members of my family, most importantly my daughter and my mom secondly, and that was really rough on me.
Hey, Vin, so, I want to go back to, because I know you since you're a kid, and the people that are watching this, you painted a hard picture about yourself, called yourself an idiot and this and that. I know, I'm going to go back to what I said. You guys were nice guys. You just didn't go down the path of where I did. My brother was a stockbroker with J.P. Moran, with Jimmy Santangelo. These guys made big money. And, listen, we're from the street. Everybody hustled. At least you guys hustled a certain way, and you always were a nice guy. So guys that don't know you, I know you. You didn't go into the way I went. And the reason why I brought up that Silver Fox incident, for people that don't know, that's an open standing murder. There's no statue. So I spoke to a lot of different agencies, came to see me, thinking the Massa brothers were involved with that murder. And I clarified that although I wasn't there, all my friends were there, and the Massas had nothing to do with that murder. So I wanted to clarify that because of what Gotti pointing the finger like he did with me. He pointed at you guys, especially the Massas. And and I want to say, you guys weren't about that. None of you. You guys were just nice guys that did hustle, and you got yourself entangled with Gene and his guys. But you had a hard life, and I'm sorry to hear about your daughter and your mom. And you're a guy.
We all go through it. I mean, with our parents, but nobody wants to bury their child. Nobody. So.
No, but you're a guy that what that's something I can. Obviously, I'll never know. Only you know. But you're a guy that. I respect, and I want guys out there to understand the difference between guys what we were doing and what you were doing. You weren't all that bad of a guy, So.
Well, I'll be honest with you, John. I mean, throughout my time hanging out with Ronnie and the Mike Palmacios, the Mike Patavonas, and all of those guys, I gave the shirt off my back for this guy.
Absolutely.
And, It basically gets to the point, our families were going on vacations together 3-4 times a year. That's how close we were. Our kids always were hanging out together. Even with his cousins, Jack and Jerry, who I really don't have a bad word to say about because they never did anything wrong to me.
Nice
Neither
guys.
one.
They were nice guys.
They never did anything wrong to me. I mean, Ronnie, if anything, he fucked over his cousins on numerous occasions. And I think I told you the story, Gene. I was there on an occasion when, Jerry had asked Ronnie for $50,000 to finish his pool on the house that he had just gotten out in Long Island. And I was standing in front of Ronnie's house one night with his sister Judy and him, and the sister saying, "Don't lend him that money; you'll never get it back." And he didn't give it to him. And that's another thing. Ronnie talks about being a fucking man, stand-up guy. For years he would approach me and tell me, he says, "Do not tell my cousin Jerry anything about the stock market and what I'm doing with you." So
But he found out. Mike Palmacio dimed him out on the visit. He found out, and he flipped out. Yep.
And Ronnie was making big money.
Right.
Big money. There'd be occasions. I'll tell you an incident that happened. This group of brokers was working for us back in 2001. They were doing really well for us, right? They worked under me. So they were doing so well, we gave them a $30,000 cash bonus, right? So we hand them the $30,000. A week later, they pick up and they leave and they go start their own company. So that shit's not going to fly. On top of that, they started taking their clients that they had opened up at our company along with them, which is a no-no on Wall Street. You don't do that. If you open up a client at that company you're working at, it stays there. So they decided they were going to go open up their own company, and that didn't fly. So we went to go see these kids on 2 different occasions. The first time I went with my friend Craig, they weren't in the office. The second time, Ronnie and I think it was Mike Palmacio went there, and they actually caught the kids there. They gave them a beating.
Mike did. I'll give Mike Palmacio did. Mike beat him with the phone, I think. Is the one where Mike hit him with the phone?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I'll give him that. He did that. Ronnie didn't do nothing. He sat in the car. Right. I know that story.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. So one of the kids, John, that took the money, he called me a day later. He says, "Listen, I got the cash together that they asked me for. I got to meet you in Brooklyn." So prior to that meeting, I had a meeting with Craig, and he goes, "Listen, get that money. You and I are going to whack it up when you get it back from him." So I go meet the kid right by Ario's in Brooklyn, and I'm with Ronnie and Mike Palmacio in the car. So they wait in the car. I go down the block. I'm talking to the kid. Obviously, at the time, he was wired up. So that was one of my extortion charges that I got. So I get back in the car. Ronnie goes, "Where's the bag?" I says, "In my pocket." So I pull it out. And he goes, let me count it. So he counts it, We go eat at Ario's after that, and we had to meet Craig my friend Craig that night. So we go meet him at 232 Park in Howard Beach. So we meet him, and Ronnie just tells Craig, he says, "Listen, I'm going to keep that money." Just, at least whack it up 3 ways, 10,000 a piece. I'm the one that went to get it. Craig's the one that gave it to the kids. And, Ronnie went there with Mike, and, but, he just kept it all. And that's the type of person he was.
Right.
Everything is mine.
Vinny, we need to. Unfortunately, we'd love to talk to you for as long as possible. I know there's a lot more stories, but
we'll have him back on.
We'll have him back on.
We're gonna bring him back on.
Of course, always.
Sure.
So thank you so much for taking the time today. It was a pleasure for me to get to know you, and for these guys, I'm sure to see you once again.
It's good to see you again. We'll see you in the studio.
You too,
Vin,
buddy. I'll
as soon
talk
as
to you
come
soon,
in.
all right?
All right. It was good seeing you again, Vinny. Thank you.
Gene, I'll talk to you, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
Well.
Bye, guys.
Bye.